horse, centipede, horse, centipede. So what happens when you... Oh, it's a Pokemon. Fun fact, in Japanese, the word for millipede is yasude, which uses this kanji, which on its own means horse. Of course. Wait, millipede? Before we get super into explaining the design, lore, and origins of the Scolipede line of Pokemon, I should clarify, millipedes and centipedes are different animals, but they are very closely related. They are both myriapoda, meaning many-feeted, and the most common way to tell the difference between them is that millipedes look kinda cute, like a roly-poly cosplaying a sausage, or a cucumber. It rolls up around and it looks like a cinnamon roll now. Adorable. They eat dead leaves and wood. They are friends. You just take a generic cute little isopod and whoop, it's longer now. Whereas centipedes look like the venomous cosmic horrors that they really are. Extra long legs and feelers to get a hold of their prey, and before their prey can escape, the centipede will inject them with their painful toxins. They also roll up though, and they too look like cinnamon rolls, but a cinnamon roll baked with nightmares. And the Scolipede line of Pokemon has features of both, really. And a horse! But why? Is it just because of the Japanese name of millipedes? And why does the Mega glow now? What do you mean there's a thing called a cucumber horse? And why is Mega Scolipede the ace Pokemon of Corbeau, the leader of the Rust Syndicate? A few videos ago, we learned that Philippe, the second in command, having a Mega Skarmory was extremely well-fitting. But does that carry over here? Let's find out.
These donuts are great. Nothing beats a jelly-filled donut.
Let's start with Venipede. There's not much to it. It's a venomous pede. And sure enough, its dex entries just confirm that. It's a large, cartoon version of the real animals it's based on. But visually, which animals? Why, it's a pill millipede or even a woodlouse, which have the same body shape and little butt feelers. Butt feelers. I mean the opposite definition of what that name kind of implies. It's simple though, and since these animals live all over the planet, this Gnoggin Pokemon really could have been introduced anywhere in the whole wide world. Wait! World? Whirlipede. You simply take a roly-poly, cheesy, fat, pill potato, doodle, armadillo, boat-building, sow bug thing and make it resemble an off-road tire. Slap that tire on your car and go on an international or even just a cross-country road trip and you'll find out that there are a lot of regional names for these terrestrial crustaceans. Some people call them slaters. I think that's the only name that's wrong. These isopods will often defensively curl up since their outer body is more armored than their underbelly. But when they happen to be curled up, well, they're almost spherical. So they roll. Perhaps even rolling away if they happened to be on a slanted leaf or stick or whatever. I was eating them constantly when I was 2, and now I'm a Poketuber. Keep an eye on your kids, folks. Or they, too, will wind up spreading the word about this video's sponsor, Helix Sleep. Newsflash! You need rest, you need your health, and your sleep quality is directly linked to that like a centipede to a shoe store. Helix mattresses have been fantastic to me ever since I got one nearly 9 years ago. With free US shipping, it arrived in an easy-to-move box, and it really was love at first touch. And if I recall, it was also fiberglass and millipede-free, which is always a bonus in my book. Thanks to their Happy with Helix guarantee and 120-night sleep trial, my wife and I got to test it out to make sure it really was the correct mattress for us. And it was! After all, we took their really quick online sleep quiz, which matches you to the mattresses that best fit your sleep preferences. Personally, I'm a back sleeper that needs to keep cool. My wife is a side sleeper who curls up like a Whirlipede while being 1500 degrees like a Centiscorch. So, the Helix Midnight Lux with its built-in cooling cover to help dissipate excess body heat. Mwah! Plus their new Comfort Adjust cooling pillow made with Glaciotex heat conductive fabric. Mwah, mwah, double mwah. This pillow keeps my head cool and has easily adjustable fill and firmness thanks to these zippers. Some nights, I just need a little extra support due to like a headache or something. And now, I don't have to shuffle through a pile of pillows to get comfy. I just zip. Nice! This pillow, their mattresses, and everything else on their site is 20% off right now at the link below for the 4th of July sale, which is really perfect timing. Because summer is here! This particular summer is hot, so invest in some bedding that will make you not. Maybe that should be reworded. I mean temperature-wise, obviously, but because of the built-in cooling technology, right? I'm not saying it's gonna make you ugly or anything. Quite the opposite. Good sleep equals good health. But, I'm over-explaining now, so, back to the topic at hand. There is a fun fact that links these bugs to Unova, though, which is based around New York City. The Armadillidium vulgare is the most widespread and well-known of these arthropods. While native to the Mediterranean, they have since become naturalized to all similar ecosystems on every continent besides the obvious one. But how did they cross the Atlantic? Well, it wasn't surf. Rather, sometime in the early 1800s, they hitched a ride on a transatlantic ship that came over from Europe to New England, where they eventually escaped and spread across the continents. New England? That's like right next to New York. Nice. I mean lice, because it's a woodlouse. Anyway, we're talking about Scolipede and its mega evolution now, the real meat and potatoes. It's super big and super bright like the Desmoxetes purpurosi. That is a very fluorescent pink bug right there. Imagine if the Arthropleura was that bright. It was the largest millipede, and they went extinct around 300 million years ago, thankfully, but they weighed over 100 pounds and could get up to 9 feet. I don't know, I count a lot more than 9 there. When it comes to this Pokemon, though, I gotta ask, is it really a horse, too? None of its Pokedex entries or game TCG and anime appearances mention people riding them or anything of the sort, really. Like, you never see this. This is the coolest Scolipede fan art I have ever seen. It goes hard. You deserve a cookie, free of millipedes this time. The closest you get to a horse, besides the Japanese pun, is by just kinda looking at its body plan and how it uses it. The first anime episode with Scolipede does see it buck Pikachu off its back and gallop a bit like a horse. It's also clearly horse-sized at the very least. They even try to subdue it with vines the same way cowboys use ropes on wild horses. And it does have these black marks on the ends of its 4 main legs, which is similar to how cartoon horse hooves look, I suppose. I suppose, ultimately, they clearly do move more like horses than they do like centipedes. While the Japanese name for millipedes does connect the animals, I'm thinking the initial idea for this design might have actually came from the animation department's budget. It's a lot less work to have them move 4 legs instead of 1,000. Pokemon wasn't doing as good at its time compared to Centiskorch generations later. But also, evolutionarily, this is very interesting. It started off as a basic woodlouse, scootin', rootin', and tootin' around on a bunch of legs. And then it learns that it doesn't really need them, and so it sucks them all in and lives as a Whirlipede. But then, I guess, like a horse pulling a chariot or a wagon, the horse leads, the wheels follow. The form factor of a horse is better than that of just a wheel. It's more versatile. Plus, now it can use those vestigial extra legs as intimidating looking spikes or horns now. Its horsitude is so subtle, kind of like another Japanese thing that's normally long and skinny, but they turned into a horse anyway. The cucumber horse. And its buddy, eggplant cow. It's a rather interesting cultural phenomenon. Someone in Japan looked at a cucumber and said, hey, that just needs legs and it's a horse. And here we are. It's a Yu-Gi-Oh card now. I guess cucumbers are millipede shaped. They're long and skinny, and fun fact, pet millipedes love chowing down on them as a treat. But why make these vegetable animals? Well, because of the Obon Festival. This is the time the spirits of your ancestors are going to come see you, but they are tiny, and floating around as a ghost is hard, so you make these as offerings to help them get around. Grass ghost type Scolipede variant when? Because otherwise, none of this really relates to Scolipede beyond, hey, long round thing you just gave long legs to, and it's a horse now, and well. Same. Honestly, for a while, I felt like the idea of Scolipede being a horse was mostly just the fandom coming up with headcanon. But I think MEGA Scolipede finally reinforces the idea of horses literally. This is literally horse armor. In fact, it's a style of horse armor that was heavily used and advanced in medieval Europe. Horse armor, or barding, has been around for a long time. It first developed in Near East Asia, where Alexander the Great later did some conquests and liked the idea of those he conquered, so the practice spread west to Persia and then to the Roman and Byzantine empires, and then eventually to the rest of Europe. Remember how I mentioned Philippe, the second of command in the Rust Syndicate, and how he uses MEGA Scolipede? Well, as we covered in Skarmory's video, it also has roots with the Roman Empire, so that's a fun coincidence. Unless the cataphracts, or heavy armored cavalry of the area, would go on to directly inspire knights, cavaliers, and paladins, icons of medieval Europe through the centuries. And for that, we can primarily say thanks to the Franks. France at the time, and their Holy Roman neighbors. Look at the armor along the horse's head, neck, and most dominantly, its chest and shoulders. Chamfron, Creenet, Flanchards. I have no idea how to pronounce those, but gosh, the overlapping bits of metal does give it an exoskeleton look, huh? But the most important armor for us were the poitrals or patrals. The chest and neck was the most in-danger part of a knight's horse, especially if they're planning on charging straight into conflict. So, they'd better be protected. And better yet, they'd better look intimidating too. Thus, some horse armor having colorful feather plumes or even spikes, quite akin to the spiky armored feet along Scolipede's neck. And the warriors atop the horses would often wield spears and lances, especially in medieval France. They made for great shock troops, shock weapons, trampling over individual opponents while stabbing from afar. Quite like what MEGA Scolipede's own horns are doing here. There's lots of great reasons for its spiky antennae to be this exaggeratedly large now, but no reason is as good as simply French lances. They too were exaggeratedly large. Anti-cavalry troops wield spears to stab the horse before the knight on top can get too close. So what is a knight to do? Why, have even longer spears and lances, of course. France's love of the weapon and steel horse armor is a big part of their rise to power, and all the romanticism surrounding chivalrous knights in stories and such. And fun fact, while the horse lost its armor by World War I, since bullets made steel armor kinda useless, a lancer on horseback was still a part of some armies in World War I. But not really after. But the armor on MEGA Scolipede looks like it pulls straight from Whirlipede. Plenty of Mega evolutions bring in elements from their earlier evolutionary stages, but this new fluorescent green color, ooh, it's so sick! Pokédex, its deadly venom gives off a faint glow. The venom affects Scolipede's mind, honing its viciousness. That is perfectly fitting for yet another American millipede, those in the Motixia genus, a genus featuring bioluminescence to serve as a warning signal to their potential predators. You know, the classic use of bright colors and patterns to say, "Do not approach! I will wreck your blood up! Do not approach!" That's kinda what Yakuza tattoos do too, huh? "I will wreck you! Do not approach!" And placed along their backs, arms, and shoulders, just like the new markings on MEGA Scolipede, the Rust Syndicate is the most Yakuza-like evil organization in all of Pokemon, remember. Team Rocket has plenty of elements inspired by the Yakuza too, but they are also more Italian mafia in aesthetic and power structure. But the Rust Syndicate, full-on Japanese mafia, who, unlike Western mafias, aren't as known for their use of guns, which are heavily restricted in Japan. The Yakuza don't want the attention that having too many illegal guns would bring them, so historically, they carry out hits and assassinations with knives and short swords, Tonto and the like, which you could then poison and use as an inspirational basis for your new Mega Pokemon's new blade-like feelers, especially given its other Yakuza associations. Given it's got the guy that owns it, you get it. And its other new glowing bits. These lines, in particular, are all new elements not found on original dude. There's no just straight lines here, you know? And given the dark backing and perfect straightness of them, I can't help but think of neon signs, which might seem random, and yet it's a part of the whole Yakuza aesthetic. they played a major role in Tokyo history in the 80s and 90s. But of course, that all started in post-war Japan. In 1948, Japan made dancing after midnight illegal as a means to curb other illegal activities that mostly happened in nightclubs. But, as always, laws only apply to those willing to obey. So the Yakuza, who were already growing significantly more powerful in the post-war landscape, stepped in, leading, eventually, we're skipping over a lot here, to the Kabukicho district. By the late 70s, it was a known Yakuza hotspot. Players of the Like a Dragon aka Yakuza series will recognize its iconic arch as the entrance to Kamurocho, but they simply changed the district name for legal reasons. It's entirely based on the real Kabukicho district. The late night clubbing scene with bright, glowing signs, neon or not, were this district's claim to fame, but its saturated light hid the darkness, the underworld controlled by the Yakuza, who were heavily involved in the real estate business side of this area. Thus, they owned a lot of the underground casinos and gambling dens we talked about in Skarmory's video, but also they owned or were the landlords of many dance, host, and hostess clubs, which only helped in their drug and human trafficking crimes, of course. And while disco was dying in the West, in Japan it was just taking off. So mix the disco lights with the neon of the 80s, and you get the picture. Bright, flashing lights in the dance clubs distracted from the poison in plain sight. Drugs. Drugs everywhere. Back then, you'd be hard-pressed to find a nightclub in the greater Tokyo area that wasn't somehow connected to the Yakuza, and thus I can't help but think there's a connection between that shady glow and this mega Pokemon, given its trainer. Though, it is speculation on subtlety rather than an inarguable inspiration, so I think we should leave it there. But consider this all now. Scolipede is a millipede centipede with the size and build of a horse that then puts on the barding of a late medieval French knight's horse and implements neon glowing poison because of the Yakuza. I love Pokemon, man. It's so cool. When it comes to the Pokemon designs themselves anyway. We'll see about the buildings, though.